Hello and welcome to today's webinar, the Wyoming and Iowa Small Business Development Center Network CARES Act Recovery Program. We're so glad you've joined us today for today's presentation, Am I an Attack Target?, presented by Laura Baker. My name is Maureen Johnson. I'm the CARES Act Recovery Program Manager with the Wyoming SBDC Network. I'll be facilitating today along with Brianna Hall from Iowa, working behind the scenes to make sure you have a great learning experience. Please use the Q&A function in the chat box at any time during the presentation to ask questions of us or our presenter. And we'll be posting links to any helpful information as needed as it comes along. The Wyoming SBDC Network is a University of Wyoming program available to all residents in the state, funded by the Wyoming Business Council and the U.S. Small Business Administration. We provide no-cost confidential advising to all Wyoming entrepreneurs and small business owners. The Wyoming SBDC Network advisors are located throughout our entire state. They not only help new businesses get started, but help current owners with growth, reinvention, exiting, and recovering from challenges. America's SBDC Iowa has 15 regional centers and more than 50 satellite centers to assist small businesses. They serve all 99 counties in Iowa. You can find more information on their website at iowasSBDC.org. As a response to the challenges caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, the Wyoming SBDC Network is operating a CARES Act recovery program made possible by the Small Business Administration funds from the Congressional CARES Act. This program allows us to host experts who bring expertise in certain topics and industries that will assist in your small business's COVID-19 response, recovery, and resilience building. Today's webinar, An Attack Target, is presented by Laura Baker. Laura Baker is the Executive Director of Cyber Wyoming, a nonprofit organization dedicated to addressing people, processes, and culture in company cybersecurity efforts. Cyber Wyoming believes that a multidisciplinary, holistic approach is necessary in order to infuse the idea that cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. While we don't sell hardware, software, or implementation services, their cybersecurity mission is to increase economic resiliency, longevity by teaching small businesses what they can do and capitalizing on their cultural strengths. So Laura, thank you so much for being here today. We're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you so much, Maureen. I appreciate it. Let me share my screen. Everybody can see that? Okay, great. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited to talk to you about your online risks, and I hope that you'll be able to get some really good tips from today's presentation. First, a little bit about Cyber Wyoming. Cyber Wyoming is a nonprofit organization. We don't sell, like Maureen said, we don't sell hardware, software, technology implementation services. We have three main focuses. Our programs include education and outreach, workforce development as a registered apprenticeship office for technology professions, and economic development or outreach to businesses like yours. We have a lot of organizations that support us in these efforts, like these amazing community-minded companies. And of course, great organizations like the Iowa and Wyoming SBDC agencies. So let's talk psychology. To increase their chances, attackers have to make their stories believable. And the best approach is to look for information about you, their target, to learn everything about you, from where you live to what car you drive or who you work for or who your family is, your interests, your hobbies, all to make a phishing email so attractive that you can't help but click or respond. And the best place to start looking for this information is where we willingly share it online. It's like striking gold to hackers. This leads us to social engineering, which is how they really get into our heads. They find your email or your name somewhere online and they do a little bit of research. All we did was put more.brenda@gmail.com into a Google search, and here's what we found. Brenda is into humanitarian causes. She gives presentations for these causes. Brenda has her own nonprofit, the Kids Educational Engagement Project, and owns a restaurant called J&A's Delicacies. We now know where she works and where she's from. Note that we have her full name here, We know what her writing style is like based on her posts, and we even know what emojis she likes to use. We have her work email address and her work phone number, and we know that she's part of her Chamber of Commerce. And by the way, just for fun, did anyone see that she has her specialty at J&A's Delicacies is snail snacks? Also, we have her nonprofit email address and her nonprofit address and phone number. And we know that she works with an organization inside the United States as well. Has anyone noticed that we have a couple of really good pictures of Brenda? So if we wanted to get into Brenda's headspace, we would create a phishing email based on her passion for children's education and advocacy. We could say we are from the Charter for Change, the Akosha Fellows, or a donor for her nonprofit, the Kids Educational Engagement Project. We could also say that we saw her article in Africa Online and we were impressed. Or we could order food from J&A's Delicacies and try to fish her for a scam. It would be pretty easy to fish her with a deal on snails as a vendor. And this took about 20 minutes of research. So, what does your Google say about you? This should be making you just a slightly bit paranoid. So once the hackers research you, they use a psychological playbook to craft the email, text, or phone call for you. The first is reciprocity. So most of these are by Dr. Eric Huffman, who's a friend of mine. And his friend did a special study. He randomly sent out 500 Christmas cards to people that he didn't know. And you know what? He got almost all 500 Christmas cards back for years from complete strangers. Now think about reciprocity for car wrap scams, for instance. If you buy this car wrap or this magnet and put it on your car door to advertise for us, then we'll pay you $300 a month. So reciprocity works. Whoops. The next one is commitment and consistency. Dr. Huffman fished 35 organizations across the nation with their permission and was able to get everyone he fished to click within 32 days. So persistence pays off for hackers. We have a few different reoccurring scams across rural America. One is for imposters claiming to be from the Social Security Administration, telling you that your Social Security number is being fraudulently used in another state like Texas. Another is Amazon Prime. Your credit card is expired and your Prime renewal subscription needs to be taken care of. And then the third is from newsletter@techandtech.com with a barrage of very real looking offers and ads. The next one is social proof. This is where social engineering comes in. The hackers research you and they concoct a story or half story, like creating a snail offer for Brenda Moore's restaurant. For instance, one of the scams is a funeral scam. They find out on social media that someone passed away, then they look up the obituary and contact a member of the grieving family. I've heard of a scam where a grandparent was called by the police, and that's in quotes, saying that her grandson had been in an accident on the way back from the funeral, asking for money. Because of the obituary, they knew where the funeral was and where the grandson was from. Liking. They try to make you like them, at least at first anyway. If you like them, then you're more likely to trust them. There was a recent article about North Korean state hackers pretending to be security researchers to gain access to the vulnerabilities that real security researchers had found. The North Koreans claimed they wanted to help and collaborate with the real security researchers, and so they were trying to create likability. Authority. Hackers try to sound official because people respond to that. Dr. Huffman's study also showed that many people were more likely to click on the email if it supposedly came from the CEO or the boss. They were more afraid of not being responsive to the leader than they were to introduce a vulnerability into the company. So this implies that maybe we all need to think just a little bit about how we accept authority and also how we might lead our team. Scarcity. Often the hackers try to find something that you want or need, and unfortunately, we help them by posting on social media. So for instance, if you post that you just lost your job, you might get a barrage of unemployment scams. So before we get into your specific risk factors, I want you to think about building 3 habits. 1, self-reflection about your online behavior. What do you post? And what can strangers find out from it? 2, how can I cultivate more suspicion when I'm online? We'll give you some really good ideas today. 3, how can I create a habit to take an extra second and think about the information I'm posting online, as well as responding to a request in an email or a text? So here are the risk factors. The number 1 risk factor for clicking when you shouldn't is impulsiveness. So if you consistently go for that candy bar, magazine, or pack of gum in the checkout line, then you may be a little impulsive. This can translate to problems for clicking when you shouldn't. So the solution here is to slow down and read every email with a monster accent to make yourself naturally more suspicious. So think about the old vampire movies when I say monster accent, where the actor said, "I want to suck your blood." Yeah, that's the accent that we want to use. It makes you more suspicious. When you get an email, you automatically read it in your own voice. And who is more trustworthy than me, myself, and I? So reading an email in that vampire accent removes your trustworthy voice from the equation and activates your stranger danger. When you get an email from your mom, then you read it in her voice. And she's pretty trustworthy too. So still use that vampire accent to read emails from people that you know. And can you believe that the hackers even know when to contact us? If you pride yourself in being productive, then you need to be sure to slow down right before lunch and right before you leave for the day. This is when scammers who use psychology know you're going to zip through your tasks as fast as possible, so you're more vulnerable during those times. And another risk factor is if you live alone. Why? The scammers know that if you talk it out with someone, then you're more likely to figure it out that it's a scam. Scammers combat this by making the offer feel like an initiation, making you feel special, or they can use negative emotions like, "You're going to be in trouble, but I can help you." Prior knowledge of scams helps you reduce your susceptibility. So educating yourself and your coworkers really does work, but it needs to be targeted towards their needs. For instance, if you design a cybersecurity awareness program for your fleet management department, it should be dramatically different from your accounting department. Think about your audience and their day-to-day jobs, then work on the training programs. This is why Cyber Wyoming has a free weekly scam alert list, and anyone can sign up to receive it. So feel free to do so. You're more likely to lose money if the scammer seems official. And seeming official is way out in front of these other scam tactics. They also use time pressures. They try to make you like them, the likability factor again with the playbook. They're worried you're going to miss they say they're worried that you're going to miss out on an opportunity. They might know a lot about you from social media research, and they may even use intimidation tactics. So if you feel uncomfortable at any time, stop and think, this could be a scam. Scammers bank on the fact that you don't have enough information to make good decisions. Remember the half stories they tell? So to combat this, you have to ask more questions. I was talking to someone a few months ago that got tired of giving those car warranty phone calls that we've all gotten. So he pressed 1 to talk to a real person, and before they could say anything, he said, "What company are you calling from and what country are you calling from?" And they hung up on it. Now, experts say don't press a number on these calls because it could be a signal that the phone number is valid and open you up to even more calls. But what this person did was ask questions, which intimidated the scammers and made them move on to lower hanging fruit. If you're a social media king or queen, I have bad news for you. You're more at risk and need to be extra careful. The top 2 methods they will use to scam you are contacting you through social media because you've shown you trust it, and faking a website that you're familiar with. So let's go over some other risk factors to see if you fit the mold. Millennials are more at risk. They've been raised in the digital age and are used to digital methods, and they trust them more. So if you're younger, you're actually more at risk. The more self-motivated you are, the more you can be hacked. This is because you tend to figure it out on your own. So again, there is that alone or didn't talk to anyone factor, and it's because you're a problem solver. If you're an extrovert, and the old saying goes, strangers are friends you haven't met with, you would routinely talk to strangers and enjoy it, you talk to people at the check line, then you're more at risk. And a lot of business owners are extroverts because they were good at what they did and they can sell it to others. Being agreeable is usually a good thing for a harmonious workplace, but if you're agreeable, then the hackers can get you to comply. They can make you click. If you're conscientious and want to do a good job or make someone happy, the hackers play on that. You want to please those you work with, so you also want to please the believable hacker. If you're emotionally stable, then you're more likely to engage with a hacker. By contrast, if you just went through a breakup and you're feeling bad, you'll be harder to engage. So if you're emotionally stable, then you're available for interaction. And finally, are you open to new experiences? If so, then you're probably open to the hacker's new idea or half story. Cybersecurity is more closely related to psychology than it is to computer science, according to Dr. Eric Huffman. Because hackers use emotional triggers, you have to know your own emotional triggers because they're hacking us, not computers. So to summarize, here are the risk factors again. And I want to note that a lot of these are traits that make you successful at work. But get on your acting skills, because online you need to become slightly different and more suspicious. And so the way to fight the psychological ploys of hackers is to know yourself, know how the hackers play on your emotions, and train on this at work. Think before you click or post anything. And if you're a manager, then the #1 reason employees click is because my boss scares me. And that's a quote from Dr. Huffman's study. So make sure you have that right leadership role with your employees. You may want to think a little bit about your management style. Thank you for your time, and thanks again to the SBDC for inviting me here to speak today. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Laura. That was awesome. And a little frightening, if I'm being totally honest.
I think we all have some of those risk factors. I know I do. Every time I'm in the checkout line and I want a candy bar right now, I'm thinking, am I impulsive? So, you know, we're all there, but it does help to activate that stranger danger, that limbic system, and read emails in the vampire voice. That does really help.
That is great advice. Would you say that things have gotten better or worse during the pandemic? Are there other flags that we should be conscious of as we're using social media more during this time?
They've actually gotten a lot worse during the pandemic. The list of COVID scams alone is in the hundreds. And definitely, since we're all online more, you know, we have to be more aware of our own risk factors. I mean, who would have thought being productive was a risk factor, or being an extrovert was a risk factor for being online and for opening up possible vulnerabilities to your company? I mean, I never really would have thought about that before I read Dr. Huffman's study.
Yeah, those are normally qualities that people really go after.
Right. Yeah, you hire people based on those qualities. I mean, I do. So it's just something you have to really think about is, you know, are some of these things possibly opening my company up to problems? And if they are, then how can I take that extra second to think?
Now, are there any certain guidelines that business owners might recommend for their employees to ensure their business safety as their employees use social media?
Absolutely. There's a ton of templates out there for social media usage. But one of the things that I would do is go out to your own website and see how much information is on there. For instance, like a medical clinic might have bios about the doctors and the nurse practitioners and the nurses. So how detailed are those bios? Is it something that somebody could use to fish the company? If it is, you might want to shorten them. And then also when you post pictures, they say don't do a front face shot. Instead, kind of go to the side a little bit. It's not quite as easy to steal a side picture and use it for any sort of identity theft or phishing scam. So those are the types of things that I like to tell companies to do. If you have your board of directors and all their bios out there, that's dangerous to your company and to the people that are listed on your website.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I didn't even think about that being something that would open a business up to a struggle. Well, great. I think that's all our questions at the moment. Anything else that you'd like to part with us today?
There's a really good, since we were talking about websites, there's a really good free site. It's immunoweb.com/radar. And you can actually go out and put your company's domain in that and see if it's been typo squatted. And the typo squatting is stuff like, I changed a capital I to a small L or a O to a 0. And you can see if it's been typo squatted. If it has, and you've also seen an increase in, for instance, phishing emails for your company, that might actually be why you're seeing that increase in phishing emails, is that typo squatting. So, there's some really great free tools out there that you can use. Another one is Have I Been Pwned, PWNED.com. And you can put in your work email and see if it's been compromised. And if it has been compromised, then you can go out and change all your passwords and then do a training on that for your company and just say, look, I found out mine, I'm the manager or whatever, and I found out that my email was compromised. So let's go out and do this for everybody else and see if your emails have also been compromised and what do we need to do next. And then you can talk about some of these psychological factors. It'd be an interesting training and it's only maybe 15 to 20 minutes.
That is great. And could you repeat the first link again for us? I'll drop it in the chat.
Sure, it's immunoweb.com/radar. IMMUNI. And it's fabulous. And you can only do 2 domains a day for free, but if you only have one, that works out well.
Great. That's awesome advice. And I just want to mention your next training session while we get this other link in here in the chat box. Laura will be joining us again on April 28th, and she's going to be teaching or doing a bit of a game webinar of Can You Spot a Fake based on phishing scams, right?
Yes. Yeah, and it's actually fun. And I just did it with a group of University of Wyoming students this morning to teach them how to better talk to businesses. The nice thing about this is you can actually, there's real examples. Every one of these was reported by somebody either in the business community or the regular community. And you can take this game back to your company. I'm willing to share the PowerPoint. And you can actually give it for the rest of your company. So, and it tells in the PowerPoint whether it's real or fake once you get there.
Yeah, that's great. I'm looking forward to that one because phishing scams, I mean, they're getting more and more clever. So it'll be good for some training from a professional.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Laura. We really appreciate your time, and thank you everyone for attending. The links are in the chat, so we can leave them up here for just 1 second longer so folks can find them. But thank you everyone for attending, and we'll see you on April 28th for the next one.
Thanks, Laura. That's great.
Thank you.